Do it yourself, go kart. Do it yourself, go kart. Do it yourself, go kart. It's the one-stop shop for installing kart parts.
Hello and welcome to DIY Golf Cart. Today we'll be installing a headlight and taillight kit on a 95 and up EZGO TXT. Now it's model specific, so if you have a metalist with a metal body, this light kit will not work on your cart. Okay, once we got everything removed from the box, we're going to locate the template which is provided in the kit. You're going to want to grab some scissors and cut out the inside line where it says cut along dotted line. So we'll do that for you right now. Once we've got the template cut out, what we're going to need to do is, you see these lines in the body, this contoured line right here, and the one running up here? We're going to use the template as a marking tool for those lines to show where we need to draw a line in order to cut out the body. So if you see this top line that's rolling around the template, that's going to be the outside lines of your light kit. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that this top line is running through the contour line in the body, like so, and make sure that this line right here is lined up with the body line right next to the nameplate. So now that we got that in place, our next step is just to grab a marker and mark out these lines where we'll be cutting. For this next step, we're going to grab a Dremel tool, or you can grab a sheetrock saw, whatever, in order to penetrate the body and cut out these perimeters. Okay, once we've got the hole completely cut out, our next step will be installing the light itself. Now, what we have provided in the kit are rivets. But a lot of the times, if you don't have a pneumatic rivet gun, if you just have one of the handheld ones, you won't be able to break these rivets. So you might need to go purchase some just stainless steel screws or any type of screws at the local hardware store. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put the light kit in place, grab a drill and the screw. And drill them through these holes. Once we got that done, we'll show you the other side. Okay, now we're just going to quickly show you how to do this other side. Okay, now that we have the holes cut in the front and we've got the lights mounted, we're just going to cut the holes in the rear of the cart, and then we'll mount the lights once we have the wiring harness ran. As you can see from our template here, we've got this that says align with black liner. This is the black liner inside of your bag well here. And then also there's another alignment reference down here which will work as the alignment of the body of your golf cart. So what we'll do is we'll fold that line over, make sure that this one is aligned with the bag well liner, which it looks like right there is good. Then we'll just grab a marker and mark this hole out. Now our next step is just to grab our Dremel and drill out the hole. Once we got the hole cut out, we'll just kind of either sand down or just grab with your hand and get rid of a lot of that debris, and then it'll be free enough for us to install the lights. Okay, before we stop cutting this hole, or before we move on to the next step, shall I say, we want to dry fit these lights just to make sure the hole is large enough. Whenever you're cutting these holes, you always want to, cut inside of the black line, because it's always to cut smaller rather than cut larger. So upon dry fitting this light, we notice that we still need to remove some edge off here, which, as you can tell, whenever I was cutting, I didn't go exactly with the line in the template. So we'll just remove that edge and make sure that you do the same with your kit, just to ensure that these lights will fit before the wires are ran behind the cart, and then you won't be able to drill because you don't want to interfere with the wiring harness. Next, we'll just have to do the same task to the driver's side. Perfect. Okay, once we got the holes cut in the rear body, our next step will be to remove the front seat. Just set it off to the side. Make sure that your car's power is turned off and your parking brake is set. And then we'll take the wiring harness, which is this big string of wires here, and we'll locate the side where the harness is labeled with the numbers 5 and 6. And we'll run 5 and 6 through the frame of the golf cart. You can see there's an opening right here. This same opening is on electric models and gas models. So what you'll do is you'll just feed those wires directly through. And then we'll move to the undercarriage and then show you where to run the wires to the front of the golf cart. Once we had the front headlight wires ran through the frame from the top side, what we're going to do is we're going to run these wires directly following the factory wiring harness. So as you can see, there's holes here in the frame that will push these wires and these connectors through. So we'll throw that one through. You're going to have to put them through one at a time, because they both won't fit if you try squeezing them both through there. So we'll run that one through, and then we'll move along to the next notch in the frame, which is right up here. We'll pass the wires through again. We want to pull as much slack as we can. And then for this next step, we're going to need to use some zip ties, which aren't provided in the kit. But what you're going to want to do is zip tie directly where the frame is, where the factory wiring harness is zip tied. So we'll zip tie right here. Or you can use twist ties, anything that you want to use in order to secure the wiring harness to the frame of the golf cart. So once that one's done, then we'll just go up to the top side here where this wiring harness is. Run a zip tie through. So it might be easier if I go this way. And then run the wiring harness through that zip tie. Now we'll show you the next steps. Now that we got the wires ran and then zip tied, as you can notice, both these connectors are labeled, as with the light itself. So we're first going to run wire number 5. Now, in order not to use zip ties, what we're going to do is we're going to run it behind the shock here and around the mount that holds the front shock shield in place, and bring it back through and then connect it with the number 5. Once that one's connected, then we'll just feed number 6 all the way over to the passenger side. So run it behind the shock and around that shock frame bracket, and then we'll just run it directly to the passenger side. Okay, now that we got the front lights hooked up, our next step is just to run the wires for the rear lights. Now what you have here is you have your on-off switch, which is a push-pull switch. This switch can be mounted either right here in the cowl or the rear cowl of the golf cart, which this customer that we're installing this light kit for, this is where he would like it mounted. Or you can run this wire all the way up underneath the car into your dash panel. So if you wanted to put a hole here in your dash panel, just take a 1/2 inch drill bit, screw it through there, and then you can run the push-pull switch up there. So that we're not going to need for now. The other wires, this hooks up to the battery, so we're not going to need that one. And this is the fuse or the relay that's involved with this light kit. So these other two cables are the ones that we're going to run for the rear tail lights. Now, as you can tell, one of them is larger than the other one. So this number 3 is going to run to your passenger side, and the number here, number 2, is going to run to the driver's side rear tail light. So our first step will be to push back the access panel here and run these wires directly in between the access panel and the frame of the golf cart. Now we'll take wire number 3, which is the longer one, and run it in between the body and the frame back here. You'll see there's a nice little hole that you can run it through to keep the wire out of the way of the motor or the lights. So you just want to tuck that in back there. And here we'll show a better visual of the driver's side. So right here you see the frame of the golf cart. Now this frame, the wire gets ran between the body and the frame itself. So we'll push that through to the driver's side. We're just showing you this for visual purposes. As you can see, the frame's right here and the body's up here. So you want to make sure that wire's ran over the frame, not underneath to where it'll get an interference with the motor. Once we have the wires ran, we're just going to take it, put it through the hole like so, and then grab the connection and hook it into place. Now, we'll dry fit our light, and like I said, rivets come in this kit, but you might need to go purchase some stainless steel screws for the do-it-yourselfer at home, because most people don't have pneumatic rivet guns that will work with those rivets. So we'll take the screws and a screwdriver. We'll do the same to the driver's side. Now that we got those tail lights wired in and mounted in place, we're going to take the wiring harness from the rear, locate this hole right here, and zip tie the harness out of the way of the motor. And then we'll take the rest of the harness, and if you see there's a hole up here as well, we'll take another zip tie. You just want to make sure that all the wires are out of the way of the motor, because you don't want anything to interfere with this wiring harness, because then you have to replace the entire harness. So now that that's all out of the way, our next step is just to put the hole in for the push-pull switch, mount the fuse block, and then wire the lights to the battery itself. Our next step will be to install the push-pull switch. Now if you notice here, there's a cross beam running right here that's holding up the seat pod itself. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to mount this light somewhere, out of the way of this cross beam. So as you can see, it runs right here, and then from the front side, if we put our fingers together, we can notice that there's a spot right here to drill a hole. So you want to make sure that you're not interfering with anything on the back side of your golf cart before drilling this hole out. So we'll take a safety glasses and a 1/2 inch drill bit, and we'll locate that mark that we made, and we'll drill this hole out. Clean it up a little bit, and then it's ready for the push-pull switch. So what we'll do is we'll take the knob off the end of the push-pull switch, and then remove the nut, push it through the hole, and put the nut on the other side. Now you can grab some pliers, or you can just hand tighten it. Make sure it's in place, then put the knob back on. Finally, before we hook up the battery wiring harness to the battery itself, we're going to mount the fuse block. So we're going to locate a place here on the frame of the cart. Now you can either drill it in with a hole or you can zip tie it. We're just choosing to zip tie it this time around. So we've located this hole up here. We'll run a zip tie through. Run it through the hole of the fuse block. And tighten it right down into place like that. Alright, we're almost done. One of the final steps is to hook up the positive and negative lead to your battery pack itself. Now if you have an electric model cart, you might want to check out our other videos online as we explain how to hook up a voltage reducer to tie in these light kits. So what we're going to do first is we're going to unhook the positive. This is a 1/2 wrench. And then you take the positive, which is the wire with the blue side on it, and run it directly over the bolt. And then we'll tighten everything up. Got the positive in there. Next we'll just do the same with the negative. Now that we got that all tied together, one of the last steps is to take your wiring harness and zip tie the bulk of this harness together. Whoops. So what we'll do is we'll run a zip tie through. And zip tie the bulk of that and just place it behind the battery pack area here. Now all we have left is to enjoy our new lights. This concludes our install of a headlight and taillight kit on a 95 and up EZGO TXT golf cart. Now this headlight kit is made in the USA, so the wiring harness and the lights themselves are of excellent quality. Now as you can tell, whenever we turn these lights on, they're very bright, so you can see quite a distance ahead of you. Please give us a call if you have any questions. Other than that, thanks for your time.